In December of 2023, 3 people broke into the tallest unfinished skyscraper in downtown Los Angeles, climbed dozens of floors into the dark, and wrote their names across the windows. They were not the last. Over the following 6 weeks, people walked into a $1.2 billion luxury development in the middle of America's second-largest city, climbed it, and painted it. At least 27 floors across multiple towers signed. Base jumpers stepped off it and filmed themselves falling. 4 people were arrested. Nobody stopped the rest because there was nobody to stop them. The buildings are called Oceanwide Plaza, 3 towers, about 500 luxury condominiums, a hotel, a ribbon of shops, directly across Figueroa Street from the arena where the Lakers play. They were topped out. They have windows. They have never had a single resident. As of last month, the graffiti is still there. It is not a story about vandals. It is a story about a decision Los Angeles made in 1959, when it looked at the one part of downtown where people actually lived and concluded that the people were the problem. What the city did next took 70 years to finish, cost billions of dollars, and produced the neighborhood you are looking at now. To understand why nobody bought into America's newest luxury downtown, you have to start with the 8,000 people who were removed from it. They lived on a hill, not a metaphorical one, a real hill, rising out of the flat of downtown Los Angeles, and by the 1880s, it was the most fashionable address in the city. Queen Anne mansions with turrets, Italianate houses with deep porches, folk Victorians packed along steep streets that ran up and over the crest. It was called Bunker Hill, and to get up it without walking, the city built a funicular railway in 1901. 2 little orange cars on a shared cable, counterbalancing each other up and down a 300-foot incline. It was named Angel's Flight. Remember it. It is the only thing from this chapter that still exists. By the 1930s, the money had moved. The families who built those mansions left for the new suburbs spreading west and north, exactly as families were doing in every American city, and the houses they left behind got carved up. The big houses became rooms to let, boarding houses, residential hotels, cheap apartments with a shared bathroom at the end of the hall, and into them moved the people who could afford that and nothing else. Pensioners, retired men living on small checks, widows, longshoremen and dishwashers and clerks who needed to be near the streetcars. By the 1950s, Bunker Hill was poor, it was old, it was crowded, and it was the one place in Los Angeles that worked the way an eastern city works. You could live there without a car. You could walk to your job, your grocer, your barber, and your church. The rooms were small, and the stairs were steep, and the paint was going, and several thousand people had an address in the middle of the city on a pension that would not have covered a garage anywhere else. It was also, by then, the setting of American noir. The writers found it before the planners did. John Fante set his novels in those boarding houses. Raymond Chandler put his characters on those streets and on that funicular, because the hill gave a Los Angeles story something Los Angeles otherwise refused to provide. Shadow, density, stairs, strangers living close enough to hear each other through a wall. The movie people came for the same reason. When you picture old Los Angeles in black and white, you are usually picturing Bunker Hill, and the only reason you can picture it at all is that the cameras happened to be standing there before the bulldozers arrived. In 1955, the Los Angeles Health Department declared the neighborhood a health hazard. Consider what that sentence actually did. It did not say the buildings needed plumbing, though many did. It did not say the wiring was old, though it was. A health hazard is a thing you remove. It is the language you use about standing water or a diseased animal. And once the phrase was attached to Bunker Hill, everything that followed was administration. In 1959, the City Council adopted the Bunker Hill Urban Renewal Project. The stated reasoning is worth hearing in the city's own words, because it contains the whole century in one line. The project was needed to keep, quote, our city from slipping backward, like San Francisco and New York in the population race. Los Angeles was going to bulldoze the densest residential neighborhood it had, the one place downtown where thousands of people actually lived, in order to win a competition about population. The Community Redevelopment Agency took every single property on that hill by eminent domain. Every house, every boarding house, every corner store. More than 8,000 low-income residents were evicted. Many of them were elderly, living on fixed incomes in the last cheap rooms in central Los Angeles. And there was no plan that meaningfully rehoused them, because rehousing them was not the point. The point was the hill. The demolition ran for a decade. By the summer of 1969, the Victorians were gone, and then the engineers did the thing that tells you how thoroughly this was meant. They took the crown of the hill off, regraded it, cut about 30 feet of Los Angeles away so the ground would suit the towers that were coming. Two of the houses were saved and trucked across town to a park called Heritage Square, a castle-like pile in a plain little box, the grandest and the humblest of what had stood there. In October of 1969, within months of arriving, both of them burned in the same arson fire. Angel's Flight, the funicular, was dismantled that same year and put into storage. So the record of the first clearance reads like this: the buildings, gone. The people, gone. The street plan, gone. The top of the hill, gone. The two houses that got out, burned. The railway, in a box. A mile south of that hill, 3 glass towers stand across Figueroa Street from the arena, finished and empty. They are where this ends. Everything between here and there is how they got that way. What replaced it is the downtown Los Angeles you know from the skyline shots. Bank towers, corporate plazas, parking. The architects did what the era asked for, and they did it competently, and the result was a district that filled every weekday morning with people who drove in from somewhere else and emptied every evening at 5. Downtown had been cured. The cure was that nobody lived there. By the end of the 1990s, after 40 years and untold public money, the entire downtown of America's second largest city held about 18,000 residents. The neighborhood the city destroyed had housed nearly half that number on a single hill. Then Los Angeles decided it wanted people back. In 1999, the city passed the Adaptive Reuse Ordinance, and it is the second decision this story turns on. The idea was simple and, on its own terms, brilliant. Downtown was full of beautiful, empty, obsolete office buildings from the 20s and 30s. So the ordinance said this: if you convert a downtown building put up before 1974 into housing, you do not have to meet the current code on parking, on density, on height, on yards, on floor area. The rules that made conversion impossible were simply lifted. It worked immediately, and it worked enormously. Old bank buildings became lofts. Insurance headquarters became apartments. The residential population of downtown Los Angeles went from about 18,000 in 1999 to 52,000 by 2013, to 67,000 by 2017, past 80,000 by the end of 2019. In 20 years, the city put 4 times as many people downtown as had been there when it started, and it did it mostly by getting out of the way and letting old buildings be reused. Notice what that proves. Not that people would not live downtown. People would absolutely live downtown. They had been living downtown in 1959 until the city removed them, and given a legal way back in, they returned by the tens of thousands. The demand was always there. The 40-year hole in the middle of Los Angeles was not a market failure. It was a policy. For the first time in 40 years, Los Angeles had accidentally done something that worked. And then, having proved that, the city and its developers drew precisely the wrong conclusion. If people will live downtown, went the thinking, then people will pay to live downtown. And the way to make this land finally deliver is to sell it up. The luxury layer went on in about 15 years. The arena opened in 1999, and the entertainment complex beside it in 2007, and a Ritz-Carlton and a JW Marriott stacked into one tower there in 2010. A Chinese developer built the Metropolis. 4 towers, about $1 billion. Another put up twin towers called Circa across from the arena. Cranes stood over Figueroa Street for a decade. Every one of these buildings was aimed at the same customer. Someone with real money who wanted a view, a doorman, and a short walk to a basketball game. Downtown Los Angeles had spent 40 years as the place Angelenos avoided after dark, and it was now being sold, at a premium, as the place they should want to be. And in 2015, on a parking lot across Figueroa from the arena, a Beijing company called Oceanwide Holdings started the biggest bet of all. Oceanwide Plaza was 3 towers on one podium, 2 residential, 1 taller with a Park Hyatt hotel folded into it, about 500 condominiums, a retail ribbon underneath, designed to be wrapped in a 700-foot band of LED screen facing the arena and the convention center, so that anyone arriving for a game or a show would arrive looking at it. It was never switched on. The general contractor was Lend-Lease, one of the largest builders on Earth. The budget was around $1 billion, and by the end, the total spent is commonly put at $1.2 billion. It was, straightforwardly, the most ambitious private residential project in downtown Los Angeles. Here is what nobody selling those condominiums could see, because it was not in Los Angeles or California or the United States. It was in Beijing. The Chinese government had begun restricting how much money Chinese companies could move out of the country and sink into foreign trophy real estate. Oceanwide Holdings was one of the companies doing exactly that. And when the tap closed, it did not matter how good the location was, how strong the market was, or how close the towers were to finished. In January of 2019, interior work stopped. The developer used the phrase restructuring of capital. Work restarted briefly in March after 9 subcontractors filed liens totaling $98.6 million. The largest of them from Webcor owed something near $53 million. Then it stopped for good. The towers were essentially built. Glass in, structure topped out. The work that remained was the interior fit-out, the part that turns a building into apartments. And there it stayed. By July of 2020, at least 5 contractors were owed close to $240 million for work they had already done on buildings nobody would ever move into. By June of 2023, the project had been foreclosed on and listed for sale. For 4 years, 3 finished-looking luxury towers stood in the middle of downtown Los Angeles with nothing inside them, and the city walked past them every day on the way to the arena. Here is what happened to everything around them in the meantime. The market the whole luxury bet depended on came apart. Start with the offices, because the offices were the reason anyone was downtown in the first place. At its height, downtown Los Angeles took in hundreds of thousands of people on a working day. Those people bought the lunches, filled the bars, justified the shops, and paid indirectly for everything. Then work changed permanently, and they stopped coming 5 days a week. By this year, downtown office vacancy sits somewhere between 32 and 35%, depending on whose count you take. A third of the offices on the cut-down crown of Bunker Hill have nobody in them at all. Then look at what those towers are worth. Before the pandemic, downtown Los Angeles office space traded at roughly $450 a square foot. This year, it is trading around $150. Not a dip, a 2/3 markdown on the core asset of the district. That number stops being abstract when you follow single buildings. The gas company tower, 1.3 million square feet on West 5th Street, was valued at $632 million in 2021. Its owner, an affiliate of one of the largest asset managers in the world, defaulted, and the building went into receivership carrying something like $465 million of loans. In December of 2024, Los Angeles County bought it for $200 million. The county government purchased a downtown skyscraper for less than a third of what it had been worth 3 years earlier. The Aeon Center, the third tallest tower downtown, sold in December of 2023 for about $147 million, a 45% discount on what its previous owner had paid in 2014. $150 a square foot is not a skyscraper price. It is warehouse money. The trophy towers that Los Angeles removed a neighborhood to make room for are now selling for less than the cost of replacing them. And then, in early 2025, the retail told the truth in the plainest language available. Macy's closed its downtown Los Angeles store. 250,000 square feet on West 7th Street, in a shopping center that had been the center of downtown retail for generations. The store had been trading, under one name or another, for 123 years. When it shut, downtown Los Angeles was left without a full department store for the first time in nearly 150 years. A city of nearly 4 million people, and its center could not support a single department store. The space is not staying empty. It is being taken over this year by a social club with 18 pickleball courts, 4 padel courts, and golf simulators. That is the sentence. 123 years of department store replaced by pickleball. The clothing shops went the same way, quieter. A budget fashion chain left in 2022. Acne Studios, Paul Smith, and Vans have all gone since. The luxury end and the cheap end walked out the same door. And now the housing, where the numbers finally answer the question this video started with, and the answer has a twist in it that the headlines usually miss. People do live in downtown Los Angeles, about 90,000 of them right now, which is more than lived there before the pandemic, and more than have lived there at any point since the bulldozers. Apartment occupancy downtown has climbed back past where it stood in 2019. If you have been told that downtown Los Angeles is an empty ghost district, that is not true, and the people who live there are entitled to be irritated by it. Here is the honest version, and it is worse than the myth because it is specific. They are not living there at luxury prices. They are living there because the landlords have run out of other options. Downtown is the clearest case in the region of supply overwhelming demand. Roughly 5,100 more apartments are being delivered into it this year. into a vacancy rate that is already high and expected to climb. Rents downtown fell in the first 3 months of this year. Concessions are everywhere. Months free, fees waived, whatever it takes to get a signature. One trade paper this spring put it flatly: in downtown Los Angeles, renters hold all the cards. And where somebody has to actually buy rather than rent, the market has simply gone. Per unit sale prices downtown fell 49% in a single year, as the whole mix of what sells slid from premium buildings toward the cheapest class of asset on the market. So read the two facts together, because together they are the story. Downtown Los Angeles is filling up. Downtown Los Angeles is filling up at half price. The neighborhood that cleared 8,000 poor residents to make room for something better is affordable again. That is the shape of the century. The district was rebuilt over 25 years to sell a premium product to a premium buyer, and it works now only to the exact extent that it stops being premium. Every part of the luxury proposition has failed on its own terms. The offices are a third empty and worth a third of what they were. The department store lasted 123 years and could not last through 2025. The condominiums sell at half, and the newest, largest, most expensive luxury address of them all never opened at all, and has other people's names written across 27 floors of it. The people who finally showed up for Oceanwide Plaza understood all of this before the architects did. The graffiti was not, whatever was said at the time, an act of nature. Those towers sat unguarded, unfinished, and effectively unowned in the middle of a downtown for 4 years. In December of 2023, 3 people got in and tagged the top floors. The pictures went around the world, and for the next 6 weeks, it became an event. People came from across the city and climbed dozens of floors in the dark with backpacks full of spray cans to write on a luxury tower. 27 floors of it, at minimum. The base jumpers came and filmed themselves stepping off. 4 arrests in total for a site that a great many people walked into. There is an obvious reading of this, which is that Los Angeles cannot control its own downtown. That reading had a good month. Rick Caruso, the developer who had just run for mayor, used the towers as a public indictment of the city's competence, and the mayor's office scrambled to answer him. And for a few weeks, the graffiti was the whole argument about whether Los Angeles still worked. There is a better reading. The only people who ever showed real enthusiasm for those 500 luxury condominiums were people who would never have been permitted through the lobby, and what they wanted from the building was to write on it. The most valuable thing anyone has ever extracted from Oceanwide Plaza is a photograph. On the 9th of February 2024, the City Council voted to bill the owner about $4 million to strip the paint and fence the site, and gave them 8 days to do it, or the city would do it and send the invoice. The owner was a Beijing company in the middle of a collapse. It did not clean the towers. And in March of 2025, Los Angeles reversed itself and decided that it did not want to spend the money either, so the paint stayed. The endgame is money, and the numbers are the cleanest statement in the whole story. In January of this year, the project reached a bankruptcy exit deal with its creditors. Then, a Southern California firm called KPC Group, working with Lend-Lease, the same contractor that built the towers in the first place, agreed to buy the whole thing and finish it for about $470 million. $1.2 billion went into those buildings. They are going for $470 million, roughly 40 cents on the dollar, for the newest luxury address in downtown Los Angeles. Even that is not settled. A rival all-cash bid appeared. The hearing has been pushed back again and again, and the city of Los Angeles has formally objected to the sale, doubting that KPC can finance the plan it filed. The mayor and the council are urging whoever ends up holding the keys to please, at minimum, secure the site and get the paint off. And there is a deadline, which is the detail nobody can talk their way around. In 2028, the Olympic Games come to Los Angeles. The towers stand directly across the street from an arena inside the game's footprint, in the sightlines of corridors that will carry millions of visitors. The live question in Los Angeles is not whether Oceanwide Plaza will be finished by the Olympics. Nobody serious thinks that. The question is whether anyone can get the graffiti off in time. Quick note before we carry on. I put together a field guide to 24 of these places, where they are, what happened to them, and whether you can still get in. Coordinates for every site and an honest note on the ones that are already gone. Scan the QR code on the right or the links in the description if you want it. Now back to it. To be fair to the people who have to run this city, there is a case for the other direction, and it is not nothing. Downtown's apartments are fuller than they were in 2019. Something like 10,000 federal workers are in various stages of coming back to their desks. Maybe. It is worth asking what recovery means here, and for whom. The version on offer is that a bankruptcy court hands 3 unfinished luxury towers to a new owner at 40 cents on the dollar, who finishes the 500 condominiums and sells them into a downtown where per-unit prices just fell by half, in a county that lost about 105,000 residents to domestic migration last year. That is not a neighborhood coming back. That is the same bet, placed again by someone who got in cheaper. So stand on Figueroa Street and total up what this one square of a city can teach. In 1959, Los Angeles decided that the problem with downtown was the 8,000 poor people living on the hill in the middle of it. It removed them. It removed their houses. Then it removed the hill. It got, in exchange, a district that emptied at 5 o'clock for the next 40 years. In 1999, it changed the rules to let people come back, and they came back, 18,000 becoming 90,000, which proved that the original problem had never existed. And then, having accidentally proved that people wanted to live downtown, the city let its land be sold on the premise that they would pay a premium to do it. That is the part, and the only part, that did not work. The offices are a third empty. There is no department store. The condominiums go for half. And the most expensive thing anyone ever built there has never held a single resident and is covered in signatures. Nobody has answered for the first clearance. There is nothing to answer for legally. The health department made a finding, the council adopted a project, the agency filed the paperwork, and the residents of Bunker Hill were removed under laws that were followed to the letter. Everyone did their job. Walk down Hill Street today and you can ride the last piece of that neighborhood. Angel's Flight is still there. Not quite where it was, because where it was is 30 feet lower than it used to be. The city put the funicular in a box in 1969, held it for 27 years, and in 1996, bolted it back down half a block from its original spot. Even then it did not go well. A passenger was killed in a crash in 2001, and it sat shut for 9 years. It derailed again in 2013 and sat shut for 4 more. It has spent most of the last half-century closed. It is open now, 7 days a week, from 6:45 in the morning until 10 at night. The fare is $1.50. 2 orange cars climbing 96 feet of what is left of Bunker Hill in front of a market that survived because nobody got around to knocking it down. That is what Los Angeles preserved from the 8,000, a ride. And a mile away, the towers are still there, still empty, still topped out, still glazed, still unfinished inside, still owned by a bankruptcy court and argued over by bidders, still standing across from the arena where the games are coming, and still covered, 27 floors of it, in the handwriting of the only people who ever wanted in. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the middle to watch more forgotten places and abandoned history from across America. Then click the video on the left to watch similar stories like this. Or if you really want to get stuck in, click the playlist on the right. New videos every week. I'll see you in the next one.